Between April and September, expect to see tight, close-quarter racing. The Porsche Esports Supercup.
Waiting patiently, you hear the engines revving, and I think there's a jump start further back for one of your drivers, but it's a good getaway from Frederick Rasmussen into an early lead into turn number 1. Once again, we'll be just checking out, see what happens if there's any more incident like we had in race 1. We've got a car running wide, but other than that, not too much happening near the back. Now, it's going in towards the hairpin for the first time. Cold tyres, cold brakes, hard onto those brakes then. And we've got the 92 of Joshua Rogers. Late move on Jamie Fluke there into that hairpin, and through he goes up into third place for the time being. He's looking forward though. He's wanted to get up even further. We've seen how quick Josh is in this car, and he's making a charge early on. But of course, with this being a 30-minute feature race here, tyre management will become a factor here in this race, because the track temperature, it is rather warm. It's in the 30s, high 30s centigrade for you here in this one. But as we're heading towards the end of the first lap, Frederick Rasmussen 0.3 of a second ahead of Mitchell DeYoung and Mitchell's teammate Joshua Rogers. The question is here, Connery, are there any team orders?
Yeah, that is the big question. When you're a team such as Coanda Sim Sports, who have so many... Oh, we've just, right at the back of the shot, we've just seen someone go way wide. That's the 107 of Tuomas Tattila.
Do you know what?
In the 107. He went to the pit lane.
He was the man I saw making a jump start. There's two others as well onto pit road. Kevin Ellis Jr. and Jack Sedgwick as well. So we're all getting caught out at the start of this race. So easy to make a mistake and to jump the start in these cars. But here's DeYoung now, having to go take a little bit of a defensive line coming in towards the hairpin then. But now holding his line, heading out the corner. As we mentioned there, so we'll get back to the point. Tyre management is a thing, but also I don't imagine there'll be team orders at Coanda Sim Sport.
Well, maybe, maybe not. You know, when there's this much money on the line, then maybe things just change from rounds previous in previous World Championships. But we'll see how things work here between Mitchell DeYoung and Joshua Rogers. Do Coanda let them fight, or do they feel that Rogers is faster and able to chase down your race leader of Frederick Rasmussen? That is the current situation there inside of your top three. The mid-pack is still pretty stacked up as well. There's Enzo Benito riding on board with the Team Redline driver, as he has not one but three VRS Coanda Sim Sport cars ahead of him. Apex Racing Team and Red Bull Racing Esports involved in that one as well. So it's, you know, it's what we're used to seeing in these Porsches. Everyone staying together, stacked up in one big pack, and it plays host to some fantastic racing as well.
There was a big switch from Tommy Osgaard in front of Enzo Benito, caught the grass on the exit of the final corner here as they're going round. Mitchell DeYoung having to get defensive again, but he's holding on to his position, so we'll keep further back. Lauren Heinrich, he's going on a bit of a charge. You think he was one of the drivers who struggled to get a lap time set in qualifying. He's up in 16th place at the moment, and he's battling Martin Cronke right in front of him as a Red Bull car running wide. That's Graham Carroll having issues coming out the hairpin, and Cronke makes it through on Graham.
Yeah, he does. Graham Carroll having some problems there through turn 5. I think he just simply outbroke himself, couldn't make the correct speed for the apex, pushes wide on exit, and that allows Cronke to slot himself ahead. And now Graham Carroll's going to come under threat here from Lauren Henrich with that bright green Porsche right there. It is a Williams Esports car, we promise. At least the back of that car is more in with the design theme of Williams, but it's kind of a unique way of kind of separating out the drivers. I wish VRS Coanda Sim Sport did that so they don't look almost identical. I know they have the white themed car and the black themed car for the Coanda guys, but you know, something a little bit more obvious would be helpful, like Williams Esports. Well,
look who's behind as well. Team Redline driver Gregor Huto, and he's in 17th place. So some of the names that we've seen at the front of the former World Championship Grand Prix series, they are just in the mid-pack here early on. But this is where, in a race like this, racecraft and being able to take the most of the opportunities that have come to you, that's where that experience does come to the fore. It doesn't matter whether it's a winged car or a car like this, the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car, experience, you can't buy that.
Definitely can't buy it. Top three all still stacked together. Still 2 Coanda, 1 Red Bull, and the Red Bull leads the pack around for now. Jamie Fluklo for Apex Racing Team, he's coming under pressure from Frederick Rasmussen's teammate here of Sebastian Job. 0.3 of a second separate them as they head their way down the back straight here. Remember, coming down into this exact corner is where we saw that first lap drama between Rasmussen and Beneke, which will be investigated after the race, I suspect, since no in-race penalties are given out. Sebastian Job, he's got a bit of work to do if he wants to catch this top 3, and he has to do that while he's being chased by Jeremy Bootloop, Zelensky, Jared Filsell right behind him as well.
Yeah, so a queue of cars there behind Fluke, and Jamie, he is a good tin top driver. He's also a very good Formula driver as well, but Fluke trying to withhold the pressure from behind for the time being. And as this race goes on as well, what you'll find is that there will be marbles accumulate offline, so those drivers will have to be careful when they make moves, because if they make a move and they hit a patch of dirt and of marbles on the track, they will not make those corners and make those moves for the time being. Your 3 race leaders are making a little bit of a breakaway from Jamie Fluke, just 1.1 seconds between them. But as we look back here, Jared Filsell and Bobby Zelensky, it's Apex Racing Team versus Vieras-Cortez Swim Sport Car.
Yep, the Coanda car. Well, I got to stop myself from saying the Coanda car now, because there's about 15 of them on the racetrack, so it's quite hard for people to tell which one exactly I'm talking about. We've had Peter Berryman come down on towards pit lane, and of course there's no scheduled stops in this entire event. It's simply not long enough to be able to do that, but this hasn't really been the best of races, best of entire race days for Peter Berryman. He's going to finish quite near the back of the field here with that stop that no one else has to do.
Fritz Lerner is down in the field for Williams Esports, and he's battling with Marti Piatella as we're going into turn number 1. And these drivers, again, you're getting battles all the way through your field here. It's very easy in an event like this to get hung up and focus on your race leading battle, which is pretty close, but still there's all these battles through the field, and this is what this Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car produces, Connery, because these drivers can run pretty close together.
On board with Lauren Henrich right now, Graham Carroll right on the front of his nose, all the way down to the turn 7 chicane here. A little bit of confusion behind as those 2 cars are going slow. Actually side by side behind between Hutu and Niels Koch here, coming down the back straight. Just behind Lauren Henrich, and Koch is around. If we can get that one back. There's the aftermath with the red line driver of Hutu spinning as well. Contact between the 2 up in towards turn 12 there, Paul.
Yeah, that's we'll see it on the replay here, but Hutu, he is fallen all the way back here, and as we look at that replay, you see just how those 2 going in side by side into the chicane, and they're getting together. Around they go, and disaster really for Team Redline in that one. We'll go back live though on your pictures. You can see that queue formed behind Jamie Fluke here. In fact, Fluke's just pulled away slightly from Sebastian Job here, and it's Job who's coming under pressure from Jeremy Bootloop as Bobby Zelensky is round.
Yeah, Zelensky around at turn 5. He'll be cycled towards the back of the field, has to rejoin safely, of course. Was it a forced error or was it unforced? He was so squirrely on the brakes in towards turn 5. No contact with any other drivers. In fact, the only contact is completely unrelated to him. Patrick Holtzman gets spun in turn 5 as well, as one of the Apex Racing Team drivers of Antoine Higlan gets into the back of him, just as the Coanda car was stuck on the outside of the corner of Zelensky.
Yeah, so getting caught up and reacting, unfortunately, to incidents like that, and around they go to those drivers further down. So Martin Cronke is on pit road. So him and also Castrolado is on pit road as well. So it's not been a good day for those two. But look at your race leaders. They're still half a second covering the three of them. You could cover them with a towel. They're that close together as they go through turns 2 and 3, heading towards the hairpin at turn number 5. And this, Connery, this is a battle of wit and a battle of intelligence and a battle of who's got the greatest racing mind here, because at the moment they're all just feeling each other out.
Yeah, absolutely. If this was still a sprint race, then we'll be seeing moves being attempted left, right and centre, shall we say. But since this race is a little bit longer, it's a little bit more of a race of attrition. And Mitchell DeYoung, very well aware of that fact. He hasn't sensed a move over Freddie Rasmussen over the last couple of laps. And Joshua Rogers behind as a teammate just stays in position as well. And that's a pretty good position for Mitchell DeYoung to be in right now. He can just focus on the car ahead of him because his teammate behind doesn't look to be making any moves anytime soon.
As you can see, the biggest movers in your field on the left hand side of your screen there on that graphic. So these drivers, there's been changes. We've got 3 retirements at the moment, so 37 cars still showing as scoring, well 36 cars, sorry, still showing as scoring. However, 3 of those cars are also on pit road as well, so just 33 cars out on track at the moment. But we'll look at this, your race lead battle, Frederick Rasmussen, Mitchell DeYoung, and there comes a time, Connery, where you can spend too much time behind the guy in front. You start braking at the same points of them, use the same lines, and before you know it, you're just following them like you're on a set of tracks.
Yeah, that's sometimes the behaviour that you start to fall into if you're just hanging onto the rear bumper of the car ahead, and Mitchell DeYoung definitely has to be careful about that. You can just see he's losing marginally over the last 2 laps, but that is not really significant in the grand scheme of things. Still very much in the slipstream, still very much in range if he wants to sling one down the inside. Freddie Rasmussen, though, with a good first sector there, able to pull out the gap just marginally again over Mitchell DeYoung, but I don't think he's going to be able to break away at the front of the field here like he does on so many occasions in so many other races.
Lauren Heinrich putting pressure on Graham Carroll in front. This is for 12th and 13th, about 0.3 of a second between the two of them as they're headed in towards the end of the lap here. Williams Esport versus Red Bull Racing Esports team, and those two are duking it out on track. Very differently coloured cars, it must be said. It's nice and distinctive for Lauren Heinrich. But those two at the moment, they're sticking together out on track. But looking even further back now, it's David Navakowski and Moritz Lerner. They're 16th and 17th place, half a second covering them. But those two, as second place, Joshua Rogers making a move down the inside of his teammate. Do you think that there's a word being had between the two of them, and Joshua saying, look, give me a go at them now. Let me have a go at your race leader. Yeah, let's have another look. Mitchell was wide out of turn 6, which is why he didn't have a lot of speed down into turn 5. Rogers inside line, an acre and a half of space given by Mitchell DeYoung. So I wouldn't say that's an orchestrated move, because Mitchell was very slow coming out of the first sector, but it wasn't a defended move, I will say, in that situation. Just allowing Rogers to have the space on the inside, get his way through, and you also, by proxy, Joshua Rogers now can have a go at your race leader. Well, this is it. It's almost a good idea to do that if you've spent too much time behind the car in front. Say, right, let's swap positions. Got that capability at the moment with them two being teammates, and say, right, let me have a go at him. And Joshua Rogers, he is a hard charger. He's somebody that will really push on through, and we're almost at the halfway point in this race here. And it's interesting to note that Jamie Fluke, with all that's been going on, did actually gain a little bit on those three at the front. So Jamie Fluke's dragging a train of cars, especially Joe Jeremy Bootloop along with him. Well, here we go. As here we go, race lead down the inside. Joshua Rogers, he's not wasting any time. It was arrive and drive, but still side by side out to the hairpin. What can they do? They're almost touching doors once again. Freddie Rasmussen holding that inside line. That's the advantage of holding that outside line into this one. Very close on the braking, they're slowing each other up, and this is bringing more and more cars into this battle. But Connery, Josh, he didn't want to waste time, he wanted to get there and make the move.
That's just the difference in driving styles between Joshua Rogers and Mitchell DeYoung. Mitchell a little bit more conservative despite coming from a real-world rallycross background. Rogers aggressive as ever, wanting to stamp his authority on this race, and that's just a statement now to Fredrik Rasmussen. If you're leaving the door open like that into turn 5, don't be surprised if you find me on the curb as well.
You can see the top 8 on your screen there. We see the top 3 right in picture there. Jamie Fluke's right behind then, with Sebastian Judd, Jeremy Bootloop, Jared Filsell and Tommy Ostgaard rounding out the top 8 of this field. We'll look on board though with Sebastian Judd. He's right behind Jamie Fluke, and those two, they're well known to each other. They've raced in various series, including World Championship Grand Prix series against each other. Race lead though, down the inside into the hairpin once again. Joshua Rogers, he's trying to make this move and trying to make it stick. He's squeezing Freddie Rasmussen to the outside of the corner, and once again over the bumps they almost touch doors. But again, Freddie Rasmussen holding the line. This time, Rogers round the outside. Brilliant move into the chicane and hairpin. Can he hold on to it? No, he's squirrely on the way out the corner. Here comes Rasmussen. Back at it now into the first chicane. It's a single line through here, and Jamie Fluke has moved up into 3rd place behind them as well. Multiple position changes here in this half of the lap here, Connery.
Brilliant, brilliant racing. We'll get another look at it side by side between your race leaders down into turn, what's going to be turn, oh wow, that's turn 7 there. Absolutely fantastic. And Jamie Fluke managing to file his way through there as well. Just in the aftermath as everyone stacked up there, coming through the chicane. The Apex Racing Team driver of Fluke just picking his way through expertly, and now he's in a podium finishing position and a prize winning position as well.
What can Joshua Rogers do now? Can he pull away from Fredrik Rasmussen? Was Fredrik Rasmussen actually looking after his tyres a little bit to save it for the second half of the race? That's going to be an intriguing thing to look at throughout this race. Meanwhile, Mitchell DeYoung is going down the inside of Jamie Fluke. He wants that podium position back here. He also wants the money that goes with that podium position. And down the inside, but Fluke again is going to try and hold on for that 3rd place. On the brakes for Apex Racing Team into the chicane. They bang doors into the hairpin now, and Fluke and DeYoung still side by side, but DeYoung has got that 3rd place there.
Yeah, you're playing with fire with a slowdown penalty coming through that section. If you take the curb a bit too much, the automated iRacing system will punish you with a slowdown penalty. You'll have to give up time over the rest of the lap to try to serve that one, and that might have just been what happened with the incident with Mitchell DeYoung that put him behind Jamie Fluke. But the thing is, he's managed to get himself back through, and he's able to continue on the charge for those top 2 positions like he was involved in just a couple of laps ago. Filsell looking to make some progress as well behind the wheel of his Apex Racing Team car. It's Jeremy Bootloop right on the front of his nose right now, coming up through the first sector, and a good train of cars for the pickings as well.
Joshua Rogers is stamping his authority on the race lead. New fastest lap for him, 23.090. He's on the move out front now. He's been released, and well, we'll focus on this one. Filsell, looking to the inside there though is Bootloop on Sebastian Job. So multiple cars going for position here, and they're going to go side by side now in towards turn number 7. The chicane, no, they're going to go back in single file. Not feeling quite as brave at this point, but 11 minutes of this race remaining here already. It's flown by us, this action, and what action we have seen here in this opening week of the Porsche Esports Supercup. Brought to you here on the iRacing Esports Network, on YouTube, Facebook and Twitch. Don't forget to keep up to date with everything that's going on in the series, because there will be plenty of talking points as we go throughout the season. But these drivers, they are really putting on a display of high intensity action. I'll get my words out eventually, Connery.
Yeah, as long as you don't mix corner numbers up like I did just a couple of moments ago, that would be absolutely fantastic indeed. But we're getting towards 10 minutes left in this first main event of the season. Rogers still leads from Rasmussen, and Rogers pulls out the gap as well up towards a second. We're currently looking at one of the battles further back in your mid-pack. I believe we're on board right now with the driver of Tommy Østgaard there for Coanda Simsport. So the Norwegian trying to make some further progress in this race. He started in P11. He's up to P8 right now, and he has cars ahead that will definitely, he'll definitely challenge by the time the end of this race arrives. But the case is, does he have the pace or not? If you looked at a lap time graphic briefly in the bottom right, just as we took it away, you'd say yes, because they're all very much green, and that's what drivers like to see. They're catching.
Yeah, absolutely. Half a second in the last 3 laps. Tommy has caught up to Jared Filsell. We also look at Sebastian Job and Jeremy Bootloop. That's 5th and 6th place. And you can see how Bootloop little gains here and there, although on lap 13 gains 0.2 of a second. So these guys, they're all getting close together. And I would imagine when we hit the 5-minute mark remaining in this race, that is when the blue touch paper will be lit and everyone will just want to stand back and watch how it all turns out. But as we head on in to the final 9 minutes of the race, Joshua Rogers has pulled out yet another fastest lap out at the front. He's pulled out a 1.4 second lead over Frederick Rasmussen. That is absolutely incredible. In the last 2-3 laps he's been able to pull out such a gap in such a closely contested field here, Connery.
It's absolutely brilliant to see. When Joshua Rogers is in his prime and in his moment, he is seemingly unstoppable. Frederick Rasmussen dropping back 0.2 of a second a lap and even 4.5 of a second on that previous one. Rogers is just saying goodbye and good night. I am gone. Freddie Rasmussen perhaps might just be dropping back into the clutches of Mitchell DeYoung here, because DeYoung has closed up 0.2 of a second to second place here. So Frederick Rasmussen, the positions being lost, might not end here.
Well, that's it. We'll have to wait and see what happens here, because DeYoung, he's on a charge now. He's trying to gain that time back. He wants to make it a VRS Coanda Simsport 1-2 for them here today in this opening event. But still under 8 minutes remaining in this one. Plenty can happen in this one as we go along. I'm determined not to say anything and give anyone a commentator's curse, because I would hate that to happen when there's so much at stake here. Even the littlest mistake will cost you dearly, as we've seen already in this event.
Yeah, absolutely, and you don't have a lot of time, even though this quote-unquote main race is, you know, I guess the most obvious statement I'll make all day is not a sprint race, but it's still 30 minutes, which, you know, if you count endurance racing into that metric, then it is still very much a sprint race, even though it's the main event. But so when you have these sorts of early issues, it's going to take a huge, monumental effort to try and get yourself back into a very good point-scoring position. We're currently riding on board with Lauren Henrich, though, for Williams Esports, chasing down Graham Carroll for Red Bull Racing Esports for P12. Henrich, he's just been stuck in this position over the past couple of laps, hasn't been able to find a way by Graham Carroll just yet, but he gets a very good run out of the chicane and coming up towards the back straight. Now look at how close he's getting to the rear bumper of the Red Bull Porsche ahead of him, but Henrich still can't find a way through. He looks like he has the pace, but he doesn't have the space.
Those two started 17th and 18th in this race, and up to 12th and 13th in this one, and they're still battling it out. You can't separate them. Looking further back as well, Maximilian Benecke, 26th position. He has not been a good opening around here for Max. He started this race in 10th place. That's down 16 positions. That's absolutely crazy when you consider the level that he competes at in our GT series, the World Championship Series for GTs.
Yeah, it's incredible, absolutely, and well, he's gonna have to try to forget about this race. It is a 10 race weeks, I guess. I was gonna say race weekend, but everything happens in a day, so 10 race day season here, so he does have a bit of time to recover from this one, but as far as I'm aware, no drop weeks in this series, so those points will count to his final tally, and that might be a talking point if he's able to put in a good result over the next couple of races, if this race will actually hurt him when it comes to a championship battle coming towards the end of the season, if he's involved.
Well, looking ahead now, second and third place, Mitchell DeYoung has been closing that gap at the front. So Fredrik Rasmussen now just 0.3 of a second ahead of Mitchell DeYoung as they come out the final corner once again. We're into the final 5 minutes, and this is where I said that things will start heating up. Business is about to pick up in this race, and it could well be for the second step of the podium. These two, though, they're no strangers to battling each other. They were stuck together for over half of the race here in this one, but still, as they go out through turn 4 over that crest, it's really difficult. The car goes light and it wants to push out wide, and then hard onto the brakes in turn 5, the hairpin here. But then look back, look at the queue of cars that are behind Jamie Fluke, the Apex Racing Team cars. Sebastian Job, Jeremy Bootloop, Jared Filsell, Tommy Ostgaard, and Enzo Benito has called up to the back of that pack as well. And he's somebody who we can maybe really keep an eye on, because remember, he did qualify very well for that first sprint race.
He did, very much so, but he's, well, just inside the top 10 here in this main event. And Enzo Benito, definitely a force to be reckoned with in the sim racing world. Doesn't matter if it's iRacing or anything else, he is going to be on the top of his game. And a top 10 finish in this first event will be absolutely brilliant for him indeed. Coming into the final couple of minutes then, Joshua Rodders just has checked out at the front of the race. 2.5 seconds is the gap between your race leader and second place right now. Joshua Rodders, he's in no man's land. He's all on his own. He can just hot lap until the end.
Well, he might want to just rein it back just that slight bit. You don't want to... it's going to sound strange, but you don't want to calm down and pull back too much, because then you'll start making mistakes. It sounds counterproductive, but it is true. That does happen. Battle for second is ongoing here. DeYoung down the inside of Rasmussen. They almost go into the side of each other. Rasmussen having to give space, but he gets on the power earlier out of the hairpin. And what we're going to see, DeYoung is crowding Rasmussen there. A little rub. Rasmussen's not having it as they go into the chicane here. And now the hairpin. Rasmussen's almost around. He's in contact. Big incident there. He's got damage to the car, but most importantly, he's down outside the top 10 here, down to 13th. And I think, in fact, he might be out of the race.
Yeah, he's out. He's taken the tow back to pit lane. Fredrik Rasmussen finish at the very, very tail end of the field. Only 1 point on offer for him in this main race. We'll see it once again coming down into the chicane. And, well, it was side by side all the way through. And it's a section where side by side is very difficult indeed. Fredrik Rasmussen, though, I think he crowded out Mitchell a little bit too much there, coming through the second apex, not leaving him a lot of room to work with. Mitchell had to put 2 tires on the grass, and that just escalated things from that point forwards.
Well, what that does mean is that Jamie Fluke is up into third place. He's got a potential podium position here, but with under 2 minutes remaining in this one, Sebastian Job now is putting him under all sorts of pressure, and in fact he's going for it. Look at the damage on the front of Jamie Fluke's car. He's hindered here in this battle, and Job, he can just drive around the outside of Jamie here, and he's going to take third place in this one. So we're nearly at the end of this race. What an action-packed race it has been in your feature race for the first round of the Porsche Esports Supercup, and Sebastian Job for Red Bull Racing Esports team up into third place there. But Jamie now under pressure here, Connery, from Jeremy Bootloop.
It will be the last lap the next time these guys hit the start-finish line, and it's going to be a frantic battle for the final step on the podium here. Sebastian Job is trying his best to make sure that podium seems a little bit more secure as he tries to break away, uses Jamie Fluke as basically a roadblock behind him, because Jamie Fluke is damaged and will be down, especially in a straight line with that front end damage. It's not a very aerodynamic surface to be presenting to the air coming down these straights. White flag going to be in the air. This is the final lap here Joshua Rogers so comfortable at the front, but it's still undecided here for P4 and back.
We've had drama further back as well. Jeremy Carroll has been around and he's dropped down to 19th place. So on the last lap is producing drama all through this race here. We'll get a replay of it. He was battling with Lauren Heinrich and it was going into the penultimate corner. Heinrich goes for the move and just the slightest touch there. We'll go back to live action now here in this one because it is Phil Sell and Fluke and Bootloop all together here for this final lap here around turn 7 into 8, the hairpin. And Fluke, all he has to do is position his car right, and he has got the position for the time being because, well, out front it is Joshua Rogers coming in to the penultimate corner here in this race, and what a race it was for him. He started this one in 4th place. He was able to get up behind his teammate early on, waited for his opportunity, got ahead of his teammate, and early on made the move for the lead, and it's going to be a race victory in the opening feature race here in the Porsche Esports Supercup for Joshua Rogers. Mitchell DeYoung is going to make it a VRS Commander SimSport 1-2 with Sebastian Job rounding out your podium. They're the big money makers in this opening round of the championship. We've got close action side by side across the line between Antoine Higelin and Tommy Osgaard, and it's Higelin who just holds on to that one. What brilliant action we have seen in this opening week of this championship.